Coming into camp and seeing things he was doing, I was like, God, I used to think my point guard was good. I said, God, he's good.
If you were starting a franchise today, who's your #1 pick out of all the players in the NBA?
Well, I'll tell you, you won't believe this, but I like Johnny Stockton. I think he's the most complete person in his position.
One of the greatest point guards to ever play the game.
I've always said I think John Stockton is the perfect point guard.
You can't be fooled by that, real nice face and, that real quiet demeanor. When he stepped on the court, he was out to get you.
A guy who probably controlled a team and a game better than anybody I've ever seen.
Probably one of the greatest players to ever play the game in his position.
His sense of where he was on the floor, his peripheral vision, you'd say, how did he see him? Huh? Oh, he's over there. Boom, he throws the pass over there.
You can't teach what John Stockton can see.
It's one of those guys, every team wants a guy like John Stockton.
John Stockton he's one of the best I ever played against, but those were illegal picks. Let's get that out the way.
I played against John since I was 13 years old, and he's a much better outside shooter, much better with the basketball. And when you're talking about, Nash and Stockton, I just think from a toughness standpoint, I don't think there's a comparison.
Well, he's the best point guard of all time.
When you played against John, I mean, you had to bring your lunch. I mean, there was a toughness about him that he carried that, I don't know if we have anybody in our game today that really brings that to the table.
Anybody really got under your skin?
No question. Kenny touched on it earlier. You play a playoff series and you go against a guy over and over again. It's inevitable. And we played Utah 2 years in a row, 6 games, so 12 games against John Stockton. John was one of the strongest guards in the league. I don't know if you guys felt that.
I got hit by one of them screens.
Yeah, he was, but the toughness, the competitiveness, and I have the greatest respect for him. I see him away from the court, love him, great guy. But he was a dirty bastard.
Whoa!
Dirty bastard.
Whoa! Steve Kerr!
I'm letting it out. I've never seen a therapist about this. This is my time to let it out.
There you go!
I can tell you feel better. Take the couch.
I missed that. The tongue was out, full extension.
Keith. Oh, and MJ and Stockton got involved. And Michael looked at Stockton and said, don't do that. And now Stockton comes up and gives it right back to Michael. We started this ball game off by saying that he does little things like that to drive you nuts.
Oh, my God.
John was a person that would stretch the boundaries.
The PG version of what
Am I
allowed to say that word on TV?
It's already you got it. On NBA TV, you are.
You say a lot worse than that.
No, on NBA TV, I don't.
You can say dirty as much
like
as you want.
HBO. NBA TV is like HBO.
I think that John understood there's a personal space law, and he understood how to invade that. And as a guard, when I'm talking to you, Ernie, I'm going to talk to you here. But John, exactly.
The European, even his
playing
mistake.
kind of European way. A little bit closer than you said. You're shooting a jump shot. It's respect that a guy's shooting a jump shot that you can't block it, so you kind of just contest. John made like he could block it, and he'd get under your feet. When you're running out, the ball is out of bounds, he's running out. Like this trip that he would do, and all of a sudden the guy would trip and they throw the ball in at the same time and he'd go down and lay it in. So he had a lot of those type of bastardly moves.
The first person that you ran into that like bust your ass, that you knew that was like, man, this shit for real. Like, who was the first person that you ran into and it was like, man, it's a level?
John Stockton. John Stockton embarrassed me, dog. Yeah. Like, John Stockton made me feel like, damn, dog, like, do I know how to play basketball? You had that moment where you like, shit, like, am I sorry, dog? Like, what the fuck am I, like, what the fuck is going on? I had never been taken out the game so fast. He had ripped me like twice. Yeah. Like, and not even like
just being
ripped
heady.
on the ball. It's just like
being heady, smarter than you.
I'm going for the outlet the wrong way. You know what I mean? Boom, steal. You know what I mean? I get the loose ball. Oh, he gone, steal. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to do something.
He see your mistakes.
And he was
Everything.
tough,
Hey,
hard nosed too.
hey,
Take you under the pick,
screens, yeah. Like I remember.
Was he way bigger than what you thought he was?
Yeah, he was.
He was way bigger than what I thought he was.
He was a lot taller.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you look at him on the court, on TV, you know, like his look could be deceiving. It's almost like how Steph Curry looked. Like on TV, he looked like, oh man, like he just looked like a regular dude. But like when you stand next to him, you're like, yo, this motherfucker like
he big.
Built like an athlete. Yeah. John Stockton, though, he would like, he was so dope, dog, because he walk you all the way down to the wing, right? And he'd walk you to the same spot, whether you pressuring him or not. Like he knew what spot he was gonna get to. He knew what he was gonna, like he was fucked once he got to the spot that he was gonna get to.
Best point guard to ever play the game is who?
Oh, John Stockton, Magic Johnson. I mean, those two are the best to probably ever play it.
What did Stockton do better than you?
I think he had like 3,000. He set the table. I think he had 5,000 more assists than I did.
Okay, all right.
And steals. I mean,
he's the all-time assist leader in steals, and you know, people don't really talk about the steals as much as the assists. But you know, he plays both sides of the court, and that's what makes him a complete player.
When you look at those records, it's amazing, and I just don't think he gets the due that he deserves.
Well, he played in Utah. That's why.
Well, yes, that's fine, but still, I think sometimes he's left out of the mix of, you know, great point guards, great point guards, and we forget to sometimes mention him.
Now, I remember one story when we had lost a few games in a row. We were back east, and we were in Charlotte, okay? And someone, namely a point guard named John Stockton, had overheard something supposedly on the radio that Grandmama Larry Johnson had said about mailman. Do you remember this?
Yeah, he got my goat that night. He needed something to get us going.
Mailman went, I think, for 56 that night.
Yeah, and I got every pass, I think, from Stock.
Right.
You fabricated a quote? Is that the story you made up?
He lied. Forget the fabricating. He lied. Okay.
Steve, I had some reliable sources that told me.
Always get away with reliable sources.
That told me that somebody had said something. I merely relayed what I had heard from.
He's training for a career in journalism. This guy's got all the makings of a guy.
You hear? Reliable source. My source told me. Okay.
I've never really gotten over my first year I got traded to Houston, and he hit the shot over me to send the Jazz to the finals.
Russell will inbound at half court. Stockton, open three. Hit it! John Stockton sends the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals.
That was so many things all wrapped up into one. It was our first chance to go to the championship. It was really the first time we'd been able to beat Houston at anything, or they just year after year we kept running those guys in the playoffs, and to finally get over that hump.
That was, I think, a snapshot of John Stockton that we have never seen before. I think other than the night that he was honored at the Delta Center, the most emotional we've ever seen him. Welcome back to Primetime Stockton. And Larry, you watched that again, I saw, with great detail, attention to detail.
Yep, and I got to tell you what happened in that play. And if you can see it again, it would mean even more. But at the timeout, the coaches are overdoing their thing, and Karl says, "Hang on." He says, "Let me tell you what we ought to do." He says, "Stockton, I guarantee you will be open." Now, and so they went to Stockton. Now, they called a pick, okay? He didn't pick Drexler. He grabbed Drexler. Drexler wasn't going anywhere all night. and he didn't get called for it because they were watching Stock. And then the infamous Bill Walton, and he drilled it. That had to be one of the great moments in Jazz history.
Stockton, open three.
I was going to come to you about that because so many people miss the pick, which is the reason the whole thing worked. And as Larry said, it really wasn't a pick. It was like 4th and 1, and you stopped the running back.
Well, it's like in a game like that I think one of the all-time greatest games. You force a referee to make a call, make him make an offensive foul call, and not a lot of them would do it. So I had it in my mind that if it's any time that they're going to do it, which who knows what would happen. I said, you know what, Stock? I said, you're going to be open. He looked at me, he said, okay. And Coach Sloan looked and just sit down. Like, you guys go on and do what you want to do. And I went out there, and it's like, that's the only thing that came to my mind is not just say bear hug him, but hold him and see what happened. And when Stock was so open, when the ball left his hand, I knew it was in. It's just one of those things. So it was like, man, it was unbelievable. So.
Most memorable play in your career?
Oh, yes. By 4, that play right there. And he had a lot of them, but just that play right there. And I think that's the most excited I've ever seen John. But it's like some of the hits he took in the game for me. And people need to go back and realize half of those points I wouldn't have got unless out wide open under the basket. But just the intensity and what he brought to the game was just, I don't know, it's just unbelievable.
John Stockton was one of the toughest guys I ever played against there. We had a series in the playoffs. It was our first series in Sacramento, and we were playing against Utah, great Karl Malone and Stockton, and I felt that our team was in awe of them. We were younger, and so I told Coach Alderman before the game, I said, on the first play of the game, I'm going to lay Stockton's ass out. And Coach said, are you sure? I said, yeah. I said, trust me, Coach. It's the first game. We just need to do it. Like, you know, they're prepared for everything that's coming. They don't expect it. I lay him out on the screen. I'm talking about I lay him out, one of the best screens I ever did. Got my shoulder kind of in that head area, too, to kind of make it a little dirty. He pops up off the ground, pats me on the butt, and says, nice screen. Do you know how demoralizing that is? You know what I mean? So, yeah, he was one of the toughest guys, and I loved it, too. After that game, we would play him in the playoffs, and I would make rookies wait on the bus, and I would say, watch the baddest man in the world pull up. And they're like, what do you mean? They think I'm going to talk about, like, his cars and all this. And John Stockton would come to the game, literally in a minivan, pop his kids out, come in there, and bust us up.
And he would show up, and he would probably have a plaid shirt on and, you know, jeans or something. His hair parted neatly on the side. Looked, he'd be so unassuming. He'd be a guy that they'd probably check his ID in other arenas.
Oh, yeah. You even thought he was, coming straight out of Catholic church, one of the kids up there, lighting the candles, or you thought, yeah, he was the valet. You definitely didn't think he was as bad of a man as he was, but he knew that, and he knew that being unassuming was part of his swagger. So he knew that, and he used that to his advantage too.
And every once in a while, on the bus, we would hear it from the back of the bus coming out. Some cliche that I had, And that guy wasn't ready. When we called on him, we pushed his button, but he wasn't ready. And John could imitate that.
Deadly, you're making $1 million a year. Griffith, you're making 500,000, 300,000, 600,000. What's Larry Bird worth? 18 million, 20 million? He's kicking our butts.
He was trying to motivate us. We were down by 20, so we went out and lost by 30.
A guy who still apparently gets in fights at pickup games, if we can believe what we hear in Spokane, Washington.
Well, the thing about Stock, and I have to go back to Coach and Larry, one of the, if not the toughest player I ever played with. Literally, guy used to set picks for me, and I felt bad. I knew the ball was coming to me. Every single time he would set a pick, in every game, I would say, God, Stock, be careful. And he looked like, what? And then after the game, his shoulder would be literally swollen. And I just remember a time in training camp where we was going after a loose ball. And, of course, I hit Stock thinking it was somebody else who was picking on Stock during the practice, another guard, because we, had our little thing, and it was Stock. So I hit the wrong guy, and Stock just brushed it off. Like, well, I knew what you meant to do, but he was like one of the toughest guys that I've ever played with.
You said that he was the one guy you just could not get under his skin.
That you couldn't get under their skin. Were there
John Stockton.
Really?
Could never.
How is that?
Because John Stockton never said anything to no one. He didn't never say nothing to me. When I go at him and I say something about him, he'll just walk like he didn't see me, like I wasn't even there.
He doesn't go out there and play around with the game. He's very serious about it. He's a smart basketball player. You know, everybody say he's dirty, but I think that's wrong. I think that's not a statement for him. I think that they should understand he goes out and play basketball the way he knows how to play, hard.
He always just stayed away from me. He didn't say a thing to me, and it got to me so much because what he did is he just didn't pay attention to me. And then if I say something, anything about him, I cuss or anything, he'll just walk away. And that was a problem. When you don't give me a response, that really hurts me because then you're not listening to me. And he was the only guy that ever did that, never listened to me. And I said, what am I doing? And then all of a sudden, he'll tell me, he'll take a charge, he'll get me on the bench, and then he'll just look at me and nod. And then I figured it out. I said, I gotta stop talking to him. I just gotta play him. And I gotta beat him with what he does. Don't say nothing to him and go at him. And when I start going at him and I figured him out, they start doubling me and they start switching players on me, and they didn't let him guard me at one point. And then I said, okay, I figured him out. I figured him out. Don't say nothing. Just go at him. And then the game became more competitive with me and him. It wasn't like I was scared of him.
Hardest person you ever guarded, man?
I'm gonna say John Stockton, man. I've been getting a lot of slack for this guy here. Everybody's been asking me why he is the toughest person to guard other than instead of Michael Jordan. First of all, it's my opinion. So that's the way it's gonna go.
You made some headlines today because you said that John Stockton was more difficult to defend than Michael Jordan. Blasphemy to me. And you have to defend yourself because how often do you really guard Michael Jordan?
Man, listen, he was a guy who was fundamentally sound. He would set picks. He would do the right thing. He'll shoot 12 times, make 10, and all that. He was just great.
He wasn't tougher than Jordan.
Yes, he was.
You just didn't.
Yes, he was.
Gary,
you guys didn't
Gary.
play against him. I did.
Let me ask you this seriously, because when you say that, people are going to be like, are you joking me? And they did today. A lot of people.
Right, I know. A lot of people.
So
and I got to get enough
just,
time to explain
Not just based off the number of times that you saw John Stockton, but you're saying that he was more fundamentally sound than Michael Jordan.
We were more athletic than he was. We were mad because he set picks and said he was dirty. If a guy comes and shoots 12 times, makes 9 of them, shoots 8 free throws and makes 7 of them, that's 20-something points and have 15 assists and 4 steals a game and works out with Karl Malone and can do it on a continuous basis, and I have to play against him 7 and 9 times a year, that is hard to guard.
No, I believe that.
Gary, let's be honest. You just didn't like playing him because he wouldn't talk back to you.
True, that's true. That's true. That's the thing, too. He wouldn't talk back to me. With Michael Jordan, he's a competitor. He's going to go back at me. That is easier for me to deny him the ball and do a lot of things.
Wow.
Then he gave you 50.
He didn't give me 50. You got to get your stats right, baby. Just a little short story about him. He's the only guy, when I got in the NBA and I wasn't as good as I thought I was going to be for the first 2 years, I watched him. And when I watched him, he's a player that all kids should watch right now. I might have been more athletic than he was, but he did it the same way every night. Every night. For a guy, for him to only play 32 minutes, come in and shoot the ball 12 times, make 9 or 10 of them shots, shoot 8 free throws and make 7 of them, and then have 15 assists and 4 steals. That's the reason why he's the hardest person I ever had to guard, and that's why I respect him very much.
Players were playing Pop-A-Shot with each other, and it was winner stays on. Well, after we've been playing for a while, this 12-year-old kid in a wheelchair comes up to John and wants to, or comes to the, can I play? Yeah, you can. Well, it turns out the kid's pretty good. And it's apparent that he's going to beat John. John gets up and starts blocking his shot. And I thought, wait a minute, there's something wrong with this picture. And then I realized there wasn't really anything wrong with it. It was just a very clear definition of how competitive John Stockton is.
One of the stories I got is his toughness. We was a Tournament of Americas, and we was in Portland, Oregon, and he did something to his leg where his leg actually wouldn't bend back out. It would always flare up every now and then, every 1 to 2 years, actually, where a bone would pop out. So we're at training camp in Chicago, and we're stretching. As we were stretching, ready to get up, Stock couldn't get up. So he looked over at me and say, so of course I knew what it was. So he called a trainer over, the trainer from Miami, and he said, look, you need to pull on this really hard and it'll pop back in. Well, this guy here wanted no liability at all. So I watched as he did it himself.
When he went to the Olympics, you know, he had a broken fibula, and a lot of players, it would have been a way to cop out. I made the Olympic team, but I broke my leg or something, but he continued to compete.
There are a lot of great players in this league, but somehow they seem to get injured or miss games. And John Stockton, you pretty much can pencil in 82 games every year, and you know what you're going to get. And it doesn't matter if he's banged up, if he's sore, if he's hurt. You know he's going to be there. You know he's going to play the minutes, and you know he's going to produce.
You know, he shouldn't have played a number of games, and he was hurt sometimes so bad that I wouldn't even get eye contact with him in the game. I'd just say, "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm fine. I'm ready to play." Never use excuses. You know, I've seen him, you know, with a little nagging injury here, a little nagging injury there, and right at game time I say, "Are you ready to go?" "Yep."
And that has been John Stockton's greatest stories. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate if you guys could hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification button so you never miss an episode of this series. Comment down below which player you'd like to see next, and here are 2 episodes of this series you might enjoy. With that said, I am out. Peace.